September 22, 1980, Iran-Iraq War begins. It went on for 8 years and began when Iraq invaded Iran via simultaneous invasions by air and land. It followed a long history of border disputes. Iraqi President Saddam Hussein said the reason for his attack was a territorial dispute over the Shatt al-Arab, a waterway that empties into the Persian Gulf and forms the boundary between Iraq and Iran. May 14, 1981, Pope John Paul II wounded by gunmen. This attempted assassination took place in St. Peter's Square at Vatican City. The Pope was shot and critically wounded by Mehmet Ali Agca, struck 4 times and suffered severe blood loss. Mehmet was sentenced to life in prison by the Italian court. The Pope later forgave Mehmet and he was deported to Turkey at the Pope's request. April 2nd to June 15th of 1982, British overcome Argentina in Falklands War. Also known as the Falklands Crisis, this was a war between Argentina and the United Kingdom. This began when Argentinian forces invaded and occupied the Falkland Islands in South Georgia. The resulting conflict lasted 74 days and ended with the Argentinian surrender on June 15, 1982, which returned the islands to British control. October 23, 1983, terrorist explosion kills 237 U.S. Marines in Beirut. The Beirut bombing occurred during the Lebanese Civil War when 2 truck bombs struck separate buildings that housed the United States and French military forces, killing both American and French servicemen. Suicide bombers detonated each of the truck bombs. This represents the deadliest single death toll for the United States Marines since the Battle of Iwo Jima of World War II. May 7, 1984, Soviet Union withdraws from Summer Olympic Games in U.S. The boycott of the 1984 Summer Games in Los Angeles was a follow-up to the U.S.-led boycott of the 1980 Summer Olympics in Moscow. The boycott involved 14 Eastern Bloc countries and allies, led by the Soviet Union, who initiated the boycott on May 7, 1984, and joined by others including East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Cuba. July 13, 1985, Live Aid. Live Aid was a dual-venue concert that was organized to raise funds for relief of ongoing Ethiopian famine. The event was held simultaneously at Wembley Stadium in London, England, which was attended by 72,000 people, and John F. Kennedy Stadium in Philadelphia, which was attended by over 100,000 people. The venue in London included performances by U2, Queen, The Who, Elton John, Paul McCartney, while Philadelphia hosted Run DMC, The Beach Boys, Madonna, Bob Dylan, and Led Zeppelin. June 27, 1986, Chernobyl disaster destroys entire town in Ukraine. This was a nuclear accident that occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine. An explosion and fire released large quantities of radioactive particles into the atmosphere, which spread over much of western USSR and Europe. The official Soviet casualty count of 31 deaths has been disputed, and long-term effects such as cancers and deformities are still being accounted for today. June 11, 1987, Prime Minister Thatcher wins rare 3rd term in Britain. The victory makes her the first Prime Minister to win 3 successive terms in over 160 years. She was the longest-serving British Prime Minister of the 20th century and is the only woman to have held office. A Soviet journalist called her the Iron Lady, a nickname that became associated with her uncompromising politics and leadership style. As Prime Minister, she implemented policies that have come to be known as Thatcherism. December 2, 1988, Benazir Bhutto elected Prime Minister. She became Pakistan's first female Prime Minister. Noted for her charismatic authority, Benazir Bhutto drove initiatives for Pakistan's economy and national security, and she implemented social capitalist policies for industrial development and growth. November 11, 1989, Berlin Wall falls. Berlin had been politically divided since the end of World War II, with the eastern portion of the city serving as the capital of German Democratic Republic. The 2 parts of the city were physically divided in 1961 with the construction of the Berlin Wall. The wall stood until November 11th, when the head of the East German Communist Party announced the citizens would cross over whenever they pleased. That night, ecstatic crowds swarmed the wall. Some crossed freely into West Berlin, while others brought hammers and began to chip away at the wall itself.